Every game, every moment. KFAN brings you the men's college basketball tournament. It's driven by Dave Smith Motors. You can tune in this Saturday on the free iHeartRadio app to catch the insanity from Indianapolis.
Is now post time for Russo Radio at Russo Hockey via X. A lot of great Minnesota Wild and hockey related content at The Athletic and theathletic.com right now. We'll get into that momentarily. But for the Minnesota Wild, this is their first home game since the tragic death of a hockey reporter, Jessie Pierce, and her three children in a house fire that took place in White Bear Lake. And, for those of you who may remember 9 to Noon a couple of Mondays ago, Brett Blakemore and I started the show cold, and we had some comments from Andrew Brunette after a Nashville Predators game talking about Jessie, and then I read a Michael Russo tweet, that was about 90 seconds long to read it. I mean, it's very, very heartfelt. And I didn't know that you knew Jessie as well as you did. And B, you have something really classy up your sleeve tonight to honor the memory of her and her kids. What is it?
Yeah, we all knew her here, and we were all just heartbroken. That game Saturday was the weirdest game I've ever covered because, we all found out a couple hours before the game, and then life just goes on, and you're just covering the game, and you're tweeting about goals and stuff.
Second home game since this happened.
So the second home game since this happened, but first since it's been public, but yeah, I mean, it's just horrible, and it really doesn't get easier. So I can only just imagine what her family and friends are dealing with. I feel so bad for her husband, Mike, and losing his 3 kids. Being at the visitation Sunday was beautiful, but it was hard. Wow. I think that what the visitation showed me too is just it really just says everything about her and the kids and the family and how loved they were, because I mean the number of people that were there that wanted to pay tribute that she had an impact on was just endless. I mean, we were online for an hour. And Bill Guerin and his wife Kara showed up, and a lot of people from the Wild. And then on Monday at the funeral, I unfortunately was in Denver, but Marcus Foligno and Jared Spurgeon showed up, and a lot of people from the Wild and friends and family. So, it's just heartbreaking. It's still so hard to believe, I used to joke with her all the pictures that she used to take, and now I'm glad she did, because they're everywhere. I didn't know her family great, but the things that her family were saying to me when I was talking to them that day was really touching and humbling. I did, know Hudson, just because she used to always bring him into the locker room and things like that. And so, but the thing about Jessie too is that she just had this way of making you, if you know me, I could be a crotchety old fart, and you come here, and she had this way. It was impossible after having 1 second of conversation with her without your spirits being lifted, because and that's the way she was, because it was so genuine. She always was smiling. You look at every single picture of her interviewing a coach or a player, and she's just got the same look of showing how much she respected them, but the same smile. And it was just this way of sort of, we a lot of times would have her ask the first question, because, especially after a loss, because she would, it'd be unnerving that, there's no way to get upset with her. So it was just, it's just brutal. And I just feel so bad for Mike and her brothers and parents and everybody that knew her. And, but yeah, Sarah McClellan and I came up with an idea. And she and her sister actually designed these pins that we bought 100 of them.
Sarah's sister,
Sarah McClellan, the Star Tribune writer, and I came up with this idea for pins, and so they're really cool. Sarah's sister designed them with our ideas, and they look great. They're basically JP pins, gold plated. with a microphone on top because she was a podcaster as well, and then 3 hockey sticks that extend with her with Hudson and Avery and Caden's names on there, and so they're being delivered to my house today. Like, we fast tracked this pretty quickly, so we'll have it for the home game tonight for people that want it. But I'm already regretting only buying 100 because I think we'll just I'll just actually probably reach out to the company today and try to buy some more. We'll be hopefully as long as FedEx comes on time in this horrible storm that we have terrible outside.
I slid all the way from Eden Prairie.
Yeah, I know. As long as they gets delivered, I'll have them tonight for anybody that comes up to Sarah and me.
Have you put a picture of the pin at Russo Hockey?
I will. So I have what they look like what we designed, but I want to get the actual one and put it on. I'll probably make it my profile picture tonight.
Oh, sweet.
And the Wild will do something to honor her tonight as well. And then they have plans for the future, obviously, that they'll work with the family.
Very heavy topic, and appreciate everything that I've followed with you and others celebrating the memory of this young lady and her family and stuff. And
the other thing I'll say about Jessie too is the number of texts I got from people in the league, not just writers but coaches and GMs that knew her, because in today's day and age of shrinking media, it is unbelievable how few visiting writers come on the road. Yeah. In fact, I think Wild fans should be really, feel fortunate that we have 3 writers usually that are on the road for a lot of the road games.
3, Joe, and who?
Well, me or Joe, and then Jess from the Pioneer Press and Sarah from the.
I see.
Yep. So, the fact but because of that, Jessie a lot of times after the game would be the only face, other than the social media team of the other team, that another coach would see, or be the only person that would go in the visiting locker room as a writer. So they all they knew her almost better than us actual beat writers that didn't work for NHL.com. So the number of texts I got from people around the league. I was just in this at this Halo analytics conference in Denver, and the number of assistant general managers that came up to me. Chris McFarland from the GM of the Colorado Avalanche came seeking me out to talk about her. So she had an impact on not just people here in the state of hockey, but around the league. Like, she was just extremely well known and respected.
Cami Granato?
Yeah. I mean, she
assistant with Vancouver, right?
Yeah. I did not see her there.
Yeah.
It was a lot of analytics, analytical people. Like the Wild had 2 representatives from their analytics department, and it was kind of like that. It was basically it was an analytics conference, so I learned a lot as a dinosaur that tries to use this stuff a little more.
Were any of the analytics people up there in front of this voluminous crowd preaching like, no, come on, guys, we swear it works in this team game?
Yeah, exactly. Well, there was one funny experience. So they did this PDO podcast with Dmitry Filikov and Thomas Drance, who actually works for The Athletic, covers the Canucks, and they were interviewing Jared Bednar of the Colorado Avalanche, and there was all this there's a lot of people listening to and Jared was incredible. And then I look behind, there's all this noise behind people just not paying attention, and I look, and it's a lot of the team analytics people just chatting behind the thing. And I actually thought it was if I was covering this event and really wanted to tick people off, I would have written about it, because it almost sort of exemplified still the fact that analytics people and coaches don't mesh. It was like they were not paying attention to the coach.
But I say,
it's like I would want to listen to every word that comes out of Jared Bednar's mouth, and
I understand.
They're all in the back of the crowd.
But you understand what I'm saying.
Basically being rude.
When I'm like, and I'm not saying basketball is not a team game. It is. But, I mean, it's morphed into milk the shot clock, play off the pick and roll. Does the defender go over? Does it go under? Who's on the switch? And let's isolate so-and-so and win a game. With football and hockey, I mean, if A doesn't get to B and doesn't get to C, then D has no chance.
Right.
I mean, you could have the most perfect play in the world, and if right guard guy blows it, well, then the whole play's messed up. Same thing in hockey.
Absolutely.
So, therefore, that's why, I don't, I'm not going to say the analytics don't work in those games, because I don't know enough about it to say that. But it just, for me, it just is a little surprising sometimes how seriously people take it in team games that involve a lot of things happening just for one thing to go the right way.
Yeah.
And organizations, man, in hockey and the NHL and NFL, pumping a lot of money into it.
Well, I mean, look at Major League Baseball's analytical site. I mean, you could. It is.
Well, they're OG.
They have something for everything. I can't even. I do wish a lot of the stuff in the NHL was more public. Because we are still. Even though it's been around for basically 12 years, it was kind of the advent was 2014.
Yeah.
There's a lot of, we're still in the infancy stage, but they have a lot of information that teams have, that even broadcasters have, that the league has, that they don't share with writers that could really inform the way that we write. But there was a lot of interesting stuff there. Like part of this Halo conference was there were these presentations, these projects done by students. And they, and there were 4 of them to try to come up with a winner. And one of the ones I found interesting was this kid went up there and sort of, started to come up with the value of a forecheck. Like really we see hits and, Yakov Trenin leads the league by about 100 hits, but like how effective is it? And he came up with sort of formulas that basically would show you how many are you dislodging pucks, how many are actually leading to a scoring chance. And it was really interesting. And then showing the top players in the league and who are the most effective in there. So there's just a lot of things. Like I started covering the league in 95. And I'm amazed, how they really analyze players back then, not knowing a lot of the stuff that they have now. I mean, even just shot assists, like that. Dylan Laux from the Hockey News sits next to me at every single Wild game, and he actually charts shot assists because it's not kept publicly by the NHL, right, or it's not at least given out by the NHL. And so he'll actually chart it during game, and it's fascinating because how many of these passes actually lead to a scoring chance and things like that, and that's something that Dylan does on his own that I actually get a great benefit of.
Yeah, and you mentioned the infancy of it because I think about it, and I'm not by no means the analytics of these games fascinates me.
Yeah,
and how far down you can truly drill for those sorts of information bits. But it seems like, okay, how do we use that information, though? So how do we decide that Yakov Trenin should not hit? How should we decide what, okay, well, it's a pass that leads to a shot. Is it a pass from the circle? Is it a pass from the blue line?
Right.
And it's almost as much as teams, might be either overwhelmed or still trying to find out how that can functionally affect how they play the game. There's the other end of it, too. I think about analytics just from our standpoint. Like at one point, it's like, run hard, hit the ball where the defender isn't, and that's a baseball conversation on the radio. Yeah. Now it's almost like we got to find new ways to make mountains out of molehills.
Yeah.
And so on our side of the business, there's an evolution or a fascination with the analytics as well. If I don't know every PFF ranking, and Pro Football Focus certainly in the news right now, given some changes business-wise with them, but if I don't know those things, do I know less about football than somebody who drills into the deep dive stats?
I think there's a balance, right? I mean, there's too much. Like it is interesting, and every team works like this. But you have these analytics departments, and they come up with a boatload of information, and then it's delivered essentially to the coach. Now, what the Wild really do really well is, so Matt Sells, who's their assistant general manager that's in charge of essentially everything in terms of, transactions, salary cap, negotiating contracts, things like that. But he came to the Wild on an analytics background, used to work for Hockey Canada, and he's got this way about him because he also knows the sport so well that he could really put this into layman's terms. So I think what he does is he divvies up this information that he gets and presents it to the coach in really one layman's terms, but also decides what's really needed for the coach to see. And Jared Bednar was talking about that as well, the coach of the Colorado Avalanche, is that he gets this mountain of information, and then he goes through it, and he picks out essentially like half, probably less, and then really decides, what he's going to, translate to the players, translate to his coaches, and things like that. So there's, to me, it's a balance. I mean, this sport existed in the National Hockey League existed for 100 years without it. and but there's a way to use this information to really make your organizations better.
You went to Denver to catch up with Liam Ogren, Z Boyum, and Marco Rossi. I mean, that's the next level move by you. But now we have this Halo conference you're talking about, so it's starting to make more sense. Did you happen to see a show at Red Rocks?
I didn't go. I wish I did. I don't know if what was playing up there. But while I was there, a lot of actually concerts for next summer were announced, and I started already making notes of which ones I want to see.
Now, you the story was posted this morning at The Athletic, and theathletic.com is the website if you want to subscribe. I haven't read it yet. It was just posted this morning, but I saw you tease it yesterday. Catching up with the kids, what was it like?
Yeah, it was awesome. It really was a coincidence. So I was out there for the conference, so then I started making plans to get all three guys by phone, and then next thing I know, I realized, wait a minute, they're coming in on Tuesday from Vegas. Let's just meet up with them. So I dipped out of the conference and went over to their hotel and sat down with all three of the guys. And so, they are really looking forward to coming back here. It stinks that it was on a second of back-to-back. In fact, Z Boyne was telling me that a lot of the Wild players all texted them wanting to have dinner last night, but they played in Colorado. And it was only their sixth win in their last 36 games.
First road win in a month and change, I think.
Crazy. So they're coming in on a high after scoring 8 goals. Brock Besser had an unbelievable game. I watched it. Rossi had a couple points. Ogren and Boyum each had an assist. But yeah,
hat-trick for Besser, right?
Yeah. Had 4 points. And wow. What was really neat, especially Z Boyum, is the lack of holding a grudge to the Wild. Z Boyum completely gets it. You have a chance to get Quinn Hughes. The window now for the Wild is to win. They essentially, in the fact of Z's maturity to realize that he's basically they did not have time to wait for me to become Quinn Hughes. So go get Quinn Hughes. And so, they get it. Ogren also really appreciative. Same thing with Rossi. Rossi still, he felt like there was no love here for him. He said it. That that it was so hard to get a contract last summer, that right when he signed the contract, he knew it was so easily tradable. He didn't know what to believe. Other than that, he knew the 2 years of trade rumors were actually real. That he just felt like it was a matter of time before he was going to get traded. And he said what told him that was the playoffs, where you have such a good regular season, 24 goals and 60 points, and halfway through, almost premeditated, they dropped him to the fourth line, and he said, quote unquote, it showed me they had no respect for me. And he told them that. So he still, I think, has a little bit of an axe to grind, which is not good coming into tonight's game. But he is also appreciative of everything the Wild gave for him, especially, it was their doctors that essentially saved his life, that diagnosed him with the myocarditis when he got here from the World Juniors there, and shut him down. And if, who knows how tragic that could have been if they don't figure that out. So he's appreciative of that, appreciative of the support that Bill Guerin and everybody had for him during that time. But I think that he's motivated to try to become a really good player for the Vancouver Canucks, and all the power to him, because these are 3 really, really good guys that invested a lot into this organization, and I'm sure the Wild will welcome him back tonight, and I'm sure the fans will be really appreciative, especially because they got those 3 guys got them Quinn Hughes, right?
But when you say that's not good coming into tonight, what do you mean?
I'm just that he's going to be motivated, obviously, but they'd be motivated anyway. So I meant more tongue in cheek.
Well, see, actually, I would look at it the other way. You jump Colorado 6-2. Granted, McCarr's not playing, and he'll miss some time. And then it's 6-6, and then you got to dig deep like a playoff team on the road to beat McKinnon, and you do so 8-6. If that was the wedding, tonight might be the funeral.
Such a great response by Besser and the Canucks, to blow a 6-2 lead, have it become 6-6 and immediately respond. Really, really cool. And so, look, we know how.
Well, what I'm saying is any extra motivation they can find at this stage of the run for the Canucks with vacations looming. I can see it from that way.
So the Wild are a minus 425 favorite tonight.
Unbelievable.
Which, I sent the screen capture to Gorg and asked him, do you remember the last time the Wild were such a favorite? And he goes, yeah, the year that they played Edmonton. Remember they won 14 or 15 straight games against the Oilers?
Jeez.
And then they could clinch a playoff spot that night. it was the year, I think, of the lockout. Yeah, it was the year of the lockout, so the 2012-13 season. So they come back here, game 80, the quote-unquote game, like the last home game, so what would be game 81, but it was not because it was a shortened season.
If it's the NFL and you're minus 425, you're like a 13, you're like an 11-point favorite or something.
Backstrom's numbers against the Oilers were better than like anybody ever, and he gets pulled immediately in that game, and then Harding comes on in his first game after his MS diagnosis.
Wow.
And the Wild wind up losing, and then on a second of back-to-back have to go to Denver and win there, and they did to make the playoffs. But I asked Gorg, I'm like, when's the last time the Wild? And he was like, yeah, they were minus 375 that night, and the Wild got stomped against the Oilers. So.
Only
Gorg can remember that from 2013.
I've asked a bevy of hockey guests, a bevy being just a few this week, about something that and I haven't read up on Bruce Cassidy and exactly what happened in Las Vegas. I just know Cassidy out this stage of the season. Yeah. It's a team that has Eichel and Stone, and so we have some high-end talent here. Now, granted, they're veterans, but this taking place at this stage of the season with a team like that involving a man like that, I just don't get it. If anybody gets it,
you know what's really funny? So I was at a friend's house, my buddy Sam, and he said to me, "What do you think's going on in Vegas?" And I said, "I bet they fire Cassidy." And I actually forgot that I said that. It was like a week before, and he immediately texted me. He's like, "Dude, you called it." I'm like, "What did I call?" I forgot that I predicted that. I actually was saying that somebody asked me a day before that conversation, if they lost in the first round, does Cassidy get fired? And I said 100%. This is Vegas. So I didn't necessarily mean that I thought that it was going to happen right now. Yeah. But this is what the Vegas Golden Knights do. They're cutthroat. They have not been playing well. They've been not scoring, they've been bleeding goals, and this is what they do. I mean, they did it with Pete DeBoer, they did it with Gerard Gallant.
Really?
And their goal is to wake this team up.
This late?
Yeah, I mean, I covered. So if you actually go back in the records book, I can almost guarantee it. In 2000, the Panthers were just in New Jersey with like 7 or 8 games left, and
devastating
Lou Lamoriello fired the coach there. And anyway, they went on to win a Stanley Cup from it. So I think that Vegas was kind of playing that template right there. And so, it's really ironic. I joked with Joe Smith, that he might have gotten John Tortorella hired because so Joe did that story on Bobby Brink, and Joe has a good relationship with John Tortorella and called him up for that story because Brink, obviously got the tough love from Torts. And the story was talking about from Brink and the family how much Torts actually meant to Brink and all this stuff. And then, this story runs, and I can almost see Kelly McCrimmon reading the story because he is an athletic fanatic. And I could almost see him, like, his light bulb go off. And so I joked with Joe, I'm like, you might have gotten Torts this job and Cassidy fired.
Hey, speaking of odds, back to odds just for a second, and I brought this up with KG. I watched Bruins Wild 6-3. Watched a fair amount of Bruins and Stars on NHL Network the other night. And Bruins won 6-3. All right, now Dallas ain't great right now, but nevertheless, Dallas is Dallas. Wild is the Wild. The Bruins are plus 7,500 to win the Stanley Cup. Mm-hmm. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Plus 7,500 with Pasternak and Swayman and McAvoy and the rest of the guys and TD Garden. I mean, I don't know if they have the best home record in the NHL, but, man, they won like 15, 16 in a row at home at one point this season.
Yeah.
I just thought plus 7,500 was juicy.
Yeah, man. Let's go to Vegas.
Do you think it's too high?
No. I mean, yeah, probably. Especially in the East this year, because I think that the East is wide open for the taking. Whether, like, even Tampa's got flaws.
Right.
Buffalo could easily come out of the East. Like there's a lot.
And they get beat in round one.
Yeah, I mean, there's...
No, they can.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely. With Boston, absolutely.
Yeah, I think Detroit's going to do some damage
but Boston,
in round one.
Boston, they were impressive that night against the Wild, and then the next game against the Stars. They're a team that is fighting for their playoff lives, like a lot of the teams.
Who is Boston?
Yeah, I mean, they were in that point where they could have fallen into the wild card, and so the East right now is so tight and jam-packed that things change.
Okay.
And that night, I mean, it was interesting because, Philly, Detroit, Ottawa, these teams, it's like nobody wants to just grab it and go on a run and grab that final playoff spot. And
right.
Here, same thing in the Western Conference. The bottom wild card spots becoming fascinating. See San Jose last night.
Yep.
this is what I've been saying all along. If this was the year to be the 7th spot in the Western Conference and play Anaheim in the first round or Vegas in the first round, because those teams are not very good right now. And we saw it last night. I mean, Anaheim, like San Jose, Anaheim, all they have to do is win, and the Wild are in the playoffs, and then San Jose just comes roaring back, and not only that, but keeps them from going to overtime.
Man, Jackson Lacombe has gotten good.
Yeah, he's really good. But in that game last night, Celebrini, that guy is just a superstar.
I love him.
I'm really struggling with like our ballots come pretty soon here, and I don't know. Like, if San Jose makes the playoffs, I'll vote for Celebrini. If they don't, I might vote for Kucherov. But, like, Celebrini, 19 years old, 105 points, 40 goals.
How old is Lucas Raymond?
Lucas is probably about 25 or 6 at this point.
What about Schaefer?
Matthew's a teenager,
He's
too.
a kid,
18,
right?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's crazy.
Boy, the young blue liners, holy cow, like 25 and under.
Yeah. No doubt.
How old's Faber? Like 25?
24.
Wow.
Yeah, 24, 25.
Speaking of blue liners, Husey, and I brought this up with KG. You're an elite hockey mind, man, so I'm sure you've thought about this and probably even talked about it. But so you got Quinn, whose deal's going to be up relatively soon. Next year's the final year of the deal, right?
Yep.
Okay, so I don't know how important it is for him to play with his brothers.
Yep. Faber's turning 24 this summer.
Okay, thank you. But I was, kind of crafting stuff for you and looking for ways to like get a Hughes here, whatever. And they're obviously both very good, Jack and Luke. Well, then I looked at their deals, and then Jack's goes to like 20, 29, 20, 30 at 8 per. Luke's like 9 per on average through 2030, 2031. So I'm like, all right, that ain't happening. Then I'm like, oh, wait. Are they going to want to bring Quinn there to play with his brothers?
See, I think it could be the opposite.
Really?
Yeah.
Those are rich deals, man.
I think more likely, and it's funny, I got to talk to Quinn's agent today about something else, so maybe I'll bring this up to him. But I think more likely than the Wild, Wild are obviously going to come at him with an 8-year extension this summer. I think it's more likely, like if I was Quinn and he does want to play with his brothers, sign for 3 years, align yourself with the end of Jack's contract, and then maybe then you guys could decide together. Maybe you go to Jersey, maybe you come here, maybe there's something else. Like you essentially what Quinn does is give the Wild 4 years by doing that.
That'd be cool.
And then you align himself there. I've heard that the Wild before the deadline tried to get Luke. And if that's the case, then that means the grand plan from Billy might be to try to get all 3 brothers. I mean, if
Quinn's
they went
better
after
than Luke, right?
Yes.
Okay, so
Luke's young. He's I'll tell you, like that game that New Jersey played here on January 9th, I think it was. Luke was the best Hughes brother on the ice by far.
Wow.
He was
that was
so
a cool
good
game.
that night. Yeah, and so anyway,
all right,
and we know we're confident that is a long-term plan, that they do indeed want to play.
Yeah, I mean it's funny because I was talking to Quinn about this a month and a half ago. How ironic it is that so I sat down with Quinn and Jack at the NHL Media Tour in September. And remember, that was the entire time where Jack basically said, look, I'll just come out and say it. I want to play with my brother. Wow. And then we were getting Quinn the next day. He was sick as a dog. And Quinn immediately, we're thinking he's going to have to put out a fire because it turned into a big thing. And Quinn's like, look, we do want to play. What's he supposed to say? We want to play together.
Yeah, that's awesome.
What I was talking to Quinn about is how ironic that he and I were both in that meeting, and who knew that exactly 3 months later he'd be on the Minnesota Wild. He didn't know. He knew what his grand plan was to get out of Vancouver, but I don't think anybody ever considered that it was going to be Billy Guerin that stepped up and did it.
All right, well, let me ask a dumb question then, and it's probably no, but Quinn's better than Luke. They both are they both are blue liners. Do you think Quinn would not want to pull away from his brother and have, hey, Luke's always been in Quinn's shadow, and here it is in the NHL?
Well, it was even funny because even at that media tour, Jack was talking about how Luke has the ability to be on the number 1 power play and all this stuff, which I remember thinking at the time, I bet Dougie Hamilton's not going to like to read this. But you're right. I mean, that was some of the stuff we were hearing, and Quinn and Jack have never confirmed this, but some of the stuff that we were hearing before the trade was that maybe Quinn didn't want to go to Jersey because he would be taking away ice time and the ability to really erupt from Luke, because he would obviously get the number one power play. So I don't know. They want to look. They are. I mean, it is cool. Just like the Folignos. I mean, these Hughes brothers, they're best buddies. We should all have that relationship with our brother or brothers.
Unless Adam sticks me 500
exactly.
at a craps table in Vegas.
Yeah, I was just
like
thinking
he did
that
10 years ago.
Yeah, I was just thinking.
Run into Russo's brother. I'm rolling at a craps game, and I got like $300 out on the table. Adam's like, "Hey, I'm Michael Russo's brother, whatever," and rolls the dice. 7.
Oh, come on, man!
And I'm I wasn't even there.
I wasn't even there, if I remember right.
No, you weren't there.
Yeah.
We sent you a picture.
Yeah. Like he just ran into you or something. Yeah.
And I didn't know who he was, and we took a picture and sent it to you.
Yeah, it was
hey,
funny.
Let me ask this to close. All right, John Cooper. With Coop, super well respected.
Yep.
Do you think he'll finish his coaching career in Tampa Bay? I mean, and why wouldn't he? Right? But I think this is his 13th year.
Yeah,
I'd forgotten that.
Yeah, he is as good as it gets. There was a lot of talk because apparently he's really good, tight with Ryan Smith, the new owner of the Utah Mammoths. So there was a lot of talk before he signed his extension, like, oh my God, could he go to Utah? But that guy is he's like the mayor of Tampa Bay now. I mean, and loves going on the water. Like, why would you ever leave that situation? But yeah, I mean, look, this is a sport where this is pro sports. You're hired to be fired. Eventually, he probably won't be there, but if he wants to coach there forever, he probably will. He's that good of a coach.
He's immortality.
Yeah, he's unreal.
Man, this is an optional skate, and there's Husey.
Yeah.
That's terrific.
Yep. And Kirill and all these guys. Boldy was out there 25 minutes before everybody.
You think tonight's loser proof minus 425?
Nothing's ever loser proof.
Not in the NHL, it's not.
Nothing's ever loser proof. We've watched this team not play well at home.
Right here. You're fantastic, and very nice touch by you and Sarah McClellan, along with Sarah's sister, to celebrate the memory of Jesse Pierce this evening with some commemorative pins that will be delivered to those in the press box. And look for that at Russo Hockey, what they look like somewhere later in the day. That's Michael Russo. Awesome. Covers the Wild for The Athletic. 9 to noon, heads into the second half of the presentation after this.
If you want to chime in what's happening with your favorite KFAN shows, you can. You can make your voice heard on the Brad Sean Bryant KFAN text line. Just let us know what you have to say by texting your message to 64686. That's 64686. Standard text message and data rates apply.
Sounds of hockey.
Personal foul. Clipping.
Wild.
Hold on to your butts.
Have a seat for a second.
Right.
Alrighty, it's 10:37. News du Nord coming up around the corner. Then Walsey. Wes Walls, former captain for the Minnesota Wild. I had a vocal maintenance day and a speaking engagement in St. Cloud a couple of weeks ago, and when I was driving up to the Granite City, man, I listened to a Mad Producer and Wes Walls chopping it up in second and none fashion. And I'm like, obviously distance is never disdain with Walsey, but holy cow, hadn't had Walsey on the radio in quite some time, and
he's so good.
Just forgot how smart he is and the way he delivers things. So Wes is going to join us today for an elongated segment. That's going to be cool, and that's going to be about 11 o'clock. Nordo has his portion of Thirsty Thursday after that.
And it's a twofer.
It is.
If you ever go down and it's hot takes at happy hour with Isaac.
Yeah, with Isaac.
There are certain establishments in town that do 2-for-1s.
Yeah.
And so today on a Thirsty Thursday,
Love it.
Kicking it off around 11:20, 11:25-ish, people are going to get a twofer as part of Thirsty Thursday.
A twofer. That'll take place about an hour from now. Now, we've mentioned and had a man named John Harris on the 9 to Noon radio show before. He does what Ben Lieber does for the Houston Texans. He's the sideline analyst. Their Vox is Mark Vandermeer. Andre Ware is the analyst. I don't really know Andre that well, but I've gotten to know Mark and John quite well over the years.
Houston QB, one of the top pick on Andre Ware.
I think he was a Heisman Trophy Award winner. But John Harris, man, when I first met him at the Combine years ago, and I was talking to him about rookies, and he knows I don't watch a lot of college football. He just sounded like I was talking to a scout or somebody in personnel. And then I get to know John a little better, and he spent a lot of time in college football, did scouting in college football, and had an opportunity in his life to become a coach in college football and work up the ranks, or segue to a microphone-related career in the NFL. He chose the latter, and but he's still super plugged into college football. So, the other day, yesterday, I asked the scribe, Ben Gessling, what, out-of-market draft aficionados do you like to follow? And he said Daniel Jeremiah. And 3 that I brought up were Jordan Reed and Field Yates for ESPN, and John Harris, who has a website called footballtakeover.com. Well, he doesn't do a lot of mock drafting, and quite honestly, it's only $30 for maybe a lifetime subscription. I don't know, but he has a lot of things going on with the Texans
for a full year. Yeah.
Is it a year?
Yeah, I just signed up for it.
He'll update things periodically, but I mean, it's not like you're going to ESPN.com or anything like that. But I think you get as good of predictions and content as really anybody out there.
You're paying for the intel over the graphics.
Amen.
What you're doing.
Perfectly stated. Footballtakeover.com. And so he put out his second mock up to the 2026 draft, which is 3 weeks from today. We have a draft party show at US Bank Stadium. Yours truly, Bursich, Lieber, and Paul Charchian on the scene. Paul's coming in from Utah to join us for the show. But John will be waist deep in Texan speculation that night, but he also will be following what other teams do because he generally is really good with his mocks. Like I mentioned a guy yesterday, the Goose is on fire. Rick Gosselin, I mean, it was a treasure trove. It was gold before social media. The days of drafts, the Goose for Dallas Morning News would pop a mock draft at 7:38 in the morning for a draft that day, and he'd get 7, 8, 9, maybe 10 of the top 10 right. And now that I've worked with National Football League teams, or a team, but subsequently meeting a lot of people with other teams over a quarter century, I've just really, the older I've gotten, gained a level of respect for what went into the Goose getting all those right answers day of the draft. It would be general managers, coaches, or higher-ups completely trusting him that he's not going to share secrets with other media members or other teams. And to hit the way he hit, then he's being given the answers to the puzzle. He's being given the answers to the test.
Well, now, it's one of those
Goose doesn't do it anymore, sadly.
I'm glad you mentioned that because I just think about it every year, whether it's Thirsty Thursday today, you mentioned Thieneman, right? And in a lot of mock drafts, it's like nearly a third of mock drafts out there that have Thieneman. So it's super steamy. You brought that up, and maybe pick 18. Hey, people at US Bank Stadium should be pumped on Thursday night if Thieneman's the right answer. Mm-hmm. But even the elite of elite draft intel guys, the guys we would look up to, we're all in awe of the Widow's Peak and Mel Kiper every single year. This is his Super Bowl.
Yeah.
A lot of times these guys will get 5, 6, 7 right over the course of a first round.
But see, I thought of that yesterday when I was talking to the scribe, and here's why. There are so many dramatically more trades that are taking place in round one than 10, 15, 20 years ago when the Goose was nailing it all the time. That one trade messes up 2 picks.
Absolutely it does.
So that just gives me more respect for the way the Goose handled his business.
Well, but I just as I've gotten older, I've kind of softened on some of it in terms of, well, here's what I think they should do at this spot. Well, that's a ridiculous take. Look, how ridiculous is it?
Right.
I mean, and specifically with the Vikings, and we'll talk more about this final hour, but however you're mocking it, really outside of a QB and probably a wide receiver, and we can all say, hey, well, it doesn't look like a lot of, there aren't any centers that are graded out mid-first round.
Yeah.
The Vikings could go 15 different freaking ways on that Thursday night, and it will make sense in the context of this team. So we all want to be right. We all want to be the soothsayers, and that's part of the fun of it.
I don't really care about that anymore. And I did for many, many years, and I'd come into the power trip and say, in 2009, they're taking Percy Harvin.
Yeah.
In whatever, 2014, they're taking Anthony Barr. Yeah, I mean, it's. I just look for things out of my job calling Vikings games now.
Yeah.
Things are more important to me now than they used to be, but things that I used to think were important aren't as important to me, if you can understand that.
No, that totally makes sense. So the best we can do is just try to find, as many different possibilities as we can and put them together and find the ones we like. And John Harris, I mean, whether it's at the combine or when he hops on the hotline, man, you just pull that string and Harris is full go for 20 minutes of draft intel. I love John.
So with the Monday mock that I unfurled, we're doing 4 of them. So, I went through the first 8 picks.
Yeah, your guy Arvell Reese.
And, right. So I put Arvell Reese like 3rd or something like that. And Harris has him 2nd to the Jets after Mendoza, the Ohio State linebacker, best player on the board at a position of need. He can be a game changer that Aaron Glenn needs to kickstart the organization. Now, 3rd for Arizona. See, he put a player there that, I mean, I didn't have this guy in my top 8, and I didn't think I was going to have him in my top 16. Why? Because I don't know who he is. David Bailey, edge from Texas. Who the hell is this? Like, where'd David Bailey come from?
Well, he's a high-end edge rusher, and this is...
Okay, he's got him ahead of Reuben Bain Jr., and even I know who Reuben Bain is, man. The guy's the bomb.
But this is the fun part about mock drafts and what's going to take place on Thursday is regardless of what Orlovsky said or didn't say or implied or didn't imply on the big station, it's going to be Fernando Mendoza that goes 1st overall to the Las Vegas Raiders.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if the Jets knock down Arvell Reese, 80% of mock draft, that now screws up where Arvell, you may have had him going 4 in your Monday mock to the Tennessee Titans.
Yeah.
Well, now they're going to have to settle between David Bailey or Reuben Bain.
Yeah, see, I messed up, and I didn't want to go, I didn't want to take too much time Monday, but I wrote down Love to Tennessee and Reese to Arizona.
Oh.
But I forgot. And so therefore I'm looking at it, I'm like, something's wrong here. All right, well, I'm going to talk myself into why Mike LaFleur, why the LaFleur needs somebody with Connor, and he got hurt and all that kind of stuff. I'm like, damn, man, I think I did something wrong here.
That's all good.
But anyway,
they did take Tyler Algier in free agency, though.
So right. So here's what's interesting about this John Harris football takeover mock draft in closing is he with pick 11, the Miami Dolphins. He has safety Dylan Thieneman going there. And so that truly is the first eye-opening spot. If you want Thieneman on your team, you kind of got to sweat Miami. And I don't know if he wrote it in there. Let's see. There's no excuse for having Thieneman. He rips himself. This is what I love about him. In his first mock, he writes, there's no excuse for having Thieneman in my first mock draft in the 2nd round at number 49. Just spaced on him, and he ended up with Minnesota. That's so awesome that he actually says that and doesn't have to be, this connected to that, and I checked this box and dotted that I. No, he's just, he has contrition. So he has him 11 to Miami, and that makes sense with Hafley being the new coach, and I think they lost Javon Holland. So that makes sense. So if you want Thieneman on your team, that is the first potential landing spot that I think you'd have to look at. But here's where it gets interesting.
How Minnesota is this with his mock?
We might, in fact, we'll save this for tomorrow. You got Alec in the mix tomorrow, right?
Yeah, first hour.
Okay, so maybe we'll save this tomorrow for Alec Lewis, athletic.com. He has the team with whom he works, the Houston Texans, trading from 28 to 18 to get Oregon tight end Kenyon Sadiq. And I mean, I'm all about Sadiq. I'm all about Sadiq joining the Minnesota Vikings.
I'm thirsty for Kenyon.
Yeah, I mean, I really, really love this guy. Lieber was the first one to put me on him. I'm at the Combine. I start sniffing him out at the Combine, find the right people, at least in my world, like him, and then he goes 4.3. He runs 4.3 at the Combine.
Like a 43-inch vertical. He's a freak.
So he has the Vikings trading back to 28, which does make sense if you're looking to amass picks, obviously, and do what the acting general manager Rob Brzezinski has said twice 9 to noon with his philosophy to team building is we have to start doing a better job hitting on the draft.
Yeah,
and getting more picks and more shots makes sense. So back at 28 with the Vikings, he would then have them taking. Let's see.
I think he has us taking a D tackle, doesn't he?
Caden McDonald, Ohio State. As mentioned above, I noted that I think the Vikings need help on the interior, maybe on the outside too, depending on Jonathan Grenard's trade status. Can find a younger DJ Reader to take over the inside at pick number 28. McDonald has some of the strongest hands / shock shed in the draft. And his presence will change things for the Vikings defense. All right.
Yeah, he had me at shock shed.
I know. We probably got to get John on next week to talk this whole thing out.
We absolutely do.
10:49, Walsey here in about 10 minutes. Truncated News due Nord next.
Welcome back, 9 to noon. It is time for News du Nord, brought to you by The Casino at Canterbury Park, CanterburyPark.com. You're feeling the felt all year round. It's poker, blackjack, and table games, and then live racing in the spring. Go to CanterburyPark.com for all event details. Super truncated. It's like 90 seconds. You get it. We're Vox in the Box here at TRIA. And we got West Walls around the corner. So we want more walls and less news, although we'll just kind of shape it up like this. Hey, Brett, back at the studios, is it too late for me to become a Braves fan? Because I'm going to need a baseball side piece this season, given that the Minnesota Twins starting out 1-4. I want them to win every game. I love the manager. I want this team to succeed, regardless of any ownership negativity, but they're not going to get it. Can I become a Braves fan? Is that okay with you and those of the Atlanta faithful?
You're more than welcome. I don't know if I would recommend it, just with how the rotation is looking right now. They're not as good as they once were maybe 5 years ago when they won the World Series. Still some entertaining players, and Acuna is fun to watch. But I don't know if I would recommend it if you're going bandwagon hopping, but for a fun watch, I would recommend.
Well, growing up in Minnesota, I have long experience of teams that build up hope and then let me down. So I'm not afraid of what Atlanta brings. For the Minnesota Twins, they lose yesterday in Kansas City. They'll play one more today before they head home. And Mother Nature, albeit not as severe as it had been speculated, looks like about a high of 42 tomorrow and rain for the home opener. Tampa Rays are in town. Other than that, the Howler going after it tonight against the Detroit Pistons, and they lost ugly last weekend. And just again, sleepy weekend games, kind of a trend for the team. PA and I have talked about that 9 to noon. They're at Detroit again, but now you're kind of scoreboard watching and you're standings chasing as the Rockets. They beat the Bucks last night, and they'll be hosting the Jazz tomorrow night. Maybe chalk that up as a W as well. That puts them a half a game ahead of the Wolves in the standings. So the Wolves are now bounced back to the 6th spot. And again, another conversation that's been recent and has been something that frequent, I should say, 9 to noon is, who do you want? You want the Nugs? You want to get matched up with Denver? You want to go to L.A.? Where are you at? Where's your head at with that? So that bears watching as well, but the Wolves have a chance. I believe if they win, it'll be the same record. They'll pull back in front of the Houston Rockets. So go beat the Pistons tonight. Pistons still without. Weird collapsed lung situation with Cade Cunningham, and it sounds like whether it's before the playoffs, early playoff speculation in terms of when he returns, but the Pistons top seed in the East, they need him, although they thoroughly dispatched the Howl without him last weekend. Let's put a wrap on News du Nord, and let's jump back into it with Wes Walls, the captain. Wes Walls, FanDuel Sports Network North. You're going to hear him with PA and at 9 to noon next as we enter the final hour, Vox in the Box style here at TRIA. It's 9 to noon on the Fan.